Hello, welcome to the Backcountry Hope podcast. Hope you guys had a great week. I hope God is blessing you and you're learning something from this series that I'm doing. Today we're going to be in Genesis 26. It's the story of Isaac and I think it's Abimelek. I'm not very good at pronouncing it. But basically, I didn't really touch base on it with the Abraham side of it because I was kind of confused at the time on what Abimelek was, because it's mentioned numerous times throughout the Old Testament. But an Abimelek basically was like a ruler or a king of a specific region. It was just like a generic term that they used for someone that was of authority. And this story is very similar to the story of Isaac's father, Abraham, going to the land of Canaan, but it's similar. Something similar happened, obviously, to his son, and we're going to learn about that today. So if you can, please start in Genesis 26, verse 1.
Now there was a famine in the land, besides the previous famine in Abraham's time, and Isaac went to Abimelek, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and will give them all these lands. And through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and did everything I required of him, keeping my commands, my decrees, and my instructions." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," because he was afraid to say, "She is my wife." He thought, "The men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful." When Isaac had been there a long time ago, Abimelek, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelek summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife. Why did you say, 'She is my sister'?" Isaac answered him, "Because I thought I might lose my life in account of her." Then Abimelek said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelek gave orders to all the people, "Anyone who harms this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold, because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling them with earth. Then Abimelek said to Isaac, "Move away from us. You have become too powerful for us." So Isaac moved away from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar, where he settled. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died, and he gave them the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herders of Gerar quarreled with those of Isaac and said, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they disputed with him. Then they dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. He moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled over there. He named it Rehoboth, saying, "Now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land." From there he went up to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you, and I will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." Isaac built an altar there, and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well.
So, yeah, I had her stop there at 25. We're going to read the rest. But there's some key points that I had came across in the first half of this chapter. You notice, like I said in the beginning, if you go back to verse 9, says, Abimelek summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac answered him, "Because I thought that I might lose my life on the account of her." his father Abraham did the same thing to Pharaoh in Egypt. He was afraid of the outcome because they were beautiful women, that something life threatening could have happened to him or his wife. And then another thing similar to Abraham is, yep, you're right. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt, the land, or live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give these lands, and I will confirm an oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands, and through your offspring may all nations be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and did everything I required of him, keeping my commands, my decrees, and my instructions." Yet again, he's passing on that promise, going on to the next generation, that the land of Canaan, the land of modern day Israel, would be blessed because of the promise that he gave Abraham and the fact that Abraham had kept the promises of God. He followed God. He listened to what God had to say. And he's passing that mantle on to his son Isaac so that Isaac can carry on that legacy of being blessed as a people. And then that his descendants will be blessed and that they would bless other people through his father Abraham. I have here, it says, let's see. Yeah, it says, basically they asked him who the woman was, like who that was, and he said it was a sister, but he was fearing for his life, and he did exactly like his father did when they asked about Sarah in Egypt. He claimed Rebecca was his sister. Time passed on, Abimelek discovered the truth, and he sent him away, and then the Lord appeared to him and pretty much kind of summed it up again, the promise again, and saying, this is what I'm going to do for you and your descendants. If you can, just continue on and finish up Genesis 26.
Meanwhile, Abimelek had come to him from Gerar with Ahuzeth, his personal advisor, and Philcol, the commander of his forces. Isaac asked them, "Why have you come to me, since you were hostile to me and sent me away?" They answered, "We saw clearly that the Lord was with you, so we said, there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we did not harm you, but always treated you well and sent you away peacefully. And now you are blessed by the Lord." Isaac then made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they went away peacefully. That day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, "We found water." He called it Sheba, and to this day the name of the town has been Beersheba. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and also Basemeth, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah.
Now, in that portion of scripture, they set aside their differences, even though Isaac had lied or, said something to Abimelek that wasn't necessarily the right answer. He forgave him and said, "Hey, let's make a pact together. Let's make an agreement between us." And they met in the middle. They had an agreement. They sat down for dinner. They enjoyed themselves, and then they went off peacefully. Now, I think that's what God wants us to do, really, like with our enemies or with someone that we've taken advantage of or whatever. Like, even with like wars and stuff, like, it's always about, oh, we won, like, we're taking this from you. Like, no, like, it's, even if there is a war, like, come to a peace. Like, you have to come to a peace within yourself before you can really find the peace of God, I think. I don't know. That's just how I look at it. Like, I think you have to realize your peace. And then God will give you his peace. And then the two go together, and
yeah, I think it's the other way around.
That's what I don't know how I'm trying to say.
Like, I think it's like, God's peace or peace within yourself.
That's what I was trying to say. But like, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Like, yeah, God has to show you peace so that you can have peace.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I flip-flopped it. And then that last piece is a very, very crucial point that we will get into in a later episode. But I want to make a valid point with that last 2 verses. It says Esau was 4 years old. He married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elam the Hittite. Now, if you remember, previously in Genesis 24, when Abraham was still alive, there was a decree that was made, or like it was something that something that was established, was saying, do not marry women from the land of Canaan. The Hittites were a settlement, a group of nomadic people that were settled all over the Middle East, and some tribes were in Canaan, and God had warned Abraham and his descendants not to marry a Canaanite woman because of their cruelty or their worship of false gods, their worship of the world and Baal and other things that were not of God. Like, just they idolized things and did not focus on God's plan and God's purpose. And they were descendants of Canaan, who we learned about in the beginning. I don't remember what part of Genesis it is, but when Noah was found naked, and his 2 sons and went in, and or the one son went in and was just like, oh, he's naked, and then his other 2 sons went in backwards and covered him, and then God said, cursed be Canaan, and may he be a slave to Shem. Now, those people were cursed, and that's why God said, do not marry these women, or do not have a relationship with these women, because of that curse that God had placed on them. There's a lot more about the story of Esau, and we will get into that as time goes on. We don't really have much more for this episode. Genesis 27 is next. But I hope you guys enjoy this one. I hope you guys enjoy your week. There is going to be a big announcement coming up sometime during the middle of the week on our Facebook page. If you aren't following our Facebook page, I think it's Backcountry Hope
Podcast.
Yeah, it's just Backcountry Hope Podcast. Probably will go live again some point this week and maybe include that announcement there. Depends on how many people are watching. But hope you guys have a good week. God bless.